Hello, everyone. This is GSA's 70-star league. Today we're going to be seeing a pretty cool race between Cheese and Gainai. Hope you're as excited as I am.
Yeah, even though the players are a little bit mismatched slightly, with Gainai being a mid top tier player and Cheese just being an absolute legend, I still think this will be a pretty exciting race. If it's kind of an off day for Cheese, Gainai definitely has a chance. Although Gainai has talked on Twitter a little bit about just being ill recently, so I'm not sure exactly how he'll be playing. But we see him about in the middle of the standings. Cheese a little more towards the top. So we'll just have to see how this race ends up, though. It could honestly swing either way depending on how both these guys are playing. This is just that demanding of a game.
Yeah, I mean, as we've seen in this league before, even top players, like you said, on an off day, it's kind of like a football where it's any given Sunday type deal, where in GSA it's any given Monday. Any player can have a good day, any player can have a bad day, and races can swing either way.
Easily. Now, one interesting thing, we're seeing both players on the English version. Last week in Cheese's race, he was actually on JP, and we suspected because of text boxes. So I wonder if we're going to be seeing a little bit of suboptimal text skipping, since Cheese is going to be used to that slightly slower Japanese text skip. But no worries about that for now. We're going to be moving right on into Lakitu skip. I know already Cheese is going to be doing that kick to the right, but let's see what Gainai ends up deciding to do for Lakitu skip here. Could save a little bit of time on Cheese, but nope, just going to do the same exact setup. Not getting quite the same great camera alignment, but doesn't matter. Both players still landing it just fine.
Yeah, if you miss Lakitu skip, it puts you, gosh, I think what is it, 5 seconds or so
it's
behind?
8 seconds. It's a pretty big amount.
Okay. Yeah, and being that far behind directly off the, directly at the beginning of the run, it definitely can get into your head a bit. So it's nice seeing both of them get it and be off to a good start in this race.
Yeah, and in PV attempts, beyond a certain level, you just reset when you don't hit it. You don't want to take that big of time losses that early on when Womp's every time loss is probably also going to be 6 to 8 seconds. So at this stage, of course, you would definitely expect resets in PV attempts, but of course not in races. So it's interesting seeing how players account for little mistakes like that. And it was pretty interesting in earlier seasons when we would see people miss Lakitu skip a little more often. We'd often see the player that missed Lakitu skip winning. And I honestly think a lot of that is just making a mistake right there. It's a relatively small time loss compared to some of the big ones, like missing the Penguin race in CCM 18. And you make a mistake like that right at the start, and you think to yourself, okay, I've made my mistake. This run isn't perfect already. Let's just play. And you kind of get out of your own nervous head a bit, and you just are able to play in a much more focused zen state. You're not nervous about, oh, I haven't made a big mistake yet. You've already made a mistake. So it's been interesting to see how that dynamic has developed over time.
Yeah, that is an interesting observation. Like you said, messing up right off the bat, it puts you behind, but it can also calm you down just by being like, okay, it is what it is. Play well from here kind of thing in your own head.
Right. Speaking of playing well and not being in your own head, Womps is an important stage for that. You really don't want to overthink anything. I mean, each of these players has been through this thousands of times by this point. You just want to do what you've always done and just don't mess up. And both players not messing up at all on their full setup cannonless. Very nice first tries from both sides. Nice to see.
Yeah, missing cannonless and Womps, it's tough to see because then usually it's a wild blue backup. Then you just have to try it again. And if you keep missing it, then I think cannonless is really that first really hard trick where it gets to be like, okay, you miss it once, you realize, okay, now I'm pretty far behind. If you miss it twice, God forbid, then it's like, we've seen people start panicking at that point.
Right. And it's very easy to commit to trying to do texture setup, for instance, just thinking I've already lost enough time, let me just go fast now. And it's especially when you're just starting out with the game, it's a rough start because like it's hard to like really recognize when a cannonless attempt will and won't work. And it kind of just feels like the game's saying no to you starting a run when you're just starting out, especially if you don't have a great controller, because even though the setup is reliable, it does somewhat rely on you being able to reliably hit a slight down input. And if your controller stick is a bit loose and you're hitting like slightly to the left or to the right of down, that can actually mess up the setup more often. So it's a very frustrating thing to have to deal with, but every player has pretty well made peace with it in some way in order to be at this level. And both players also making peace with 100 coin. And very nice finishes near synced, except as we can see Cheese on a slightly different coin routing, having already gotten that first line of coins that Gainai is grabbing now with a slightly more risky cycle. Diving past the star, yeah. At least there's a fence there. That's a good note. That'd be awful if it was easy to die between getting the red star and getting the 100 coin star. And so then you'd have to re-enter the stage and get reds without 100 coin. Like, that'd be such a weird route because you never ever see it. Like, I don't think any category actually uses it unless there's happens to be like a all stage stars no 100 coins category.
Yeah, you're right. I don't think any main category actually does do reds without 100, just because like they're so ingrained in each other, kind of. You know, like if you're getting the reds, you might as well grab the other coins kind of as you fly past them. So it would be interesting to see that route.
I'm sure that would be something on like a bingo card somewhere. All right, nice womp fight from Cheese, and Gainai also pulling off a pretty nice womp fight. This is another one that you just have to grind out the timing on and just develop your own system of visual and audio cues for when to ground pound, because like just ground pounding from too high up or like timing your ground pound a bit later than you have to is honestly time loss. At this very top level, these runners are trying to get as close to a perfect ground pound as possible, so like to be competitive, you also have to be really optimized on when exactly you pound. And if you're not careful, that can result in you constantly pounding through the womp or like pounding on like the wrong part of the ground or just something weird that'll just lose more time. Gainai with a nice top of the fortress and Cheese as well. Moving on out of the stage with a little bit of awkward exiting movement, but eventually making his way over to the Princess's slide.
All right, I say 12. I'll call 12-6 for Cheese, and I'll say 12-7 for Gainai. Those are my predictions now.
12-7, 12-7. I should have trusted you. I'm sorry. And Gainai with a 12-8. Just neither player wanting to fit in with the script at all, unfortunately. And now Cheese with some flying. Let's watch these premium arcs. This is going to be some beautiful stuff here.
Yeah, if you're new-ish to the Super Mario 64 speedrunning community, flying is one of those things that looks very simple, but once you get into it, doing it effectively is actually very hard.
And it's very counterintuitive at first. Like you just have to watch someone good do it and like just try like an attempt at it, check back at the video, try an attempt, like just keep cycling over and over. And just like it's a game of imitation. Like you just have to imitate people that are already good at it because it's so weird. And like I think it's really funny how the game even tries to explain it as just think of how an aircraft flies. Like every civilian child playing this game definitely has experience flying an aircraft. Like it's just such an alien concept to the everyday layperson, and it just like the way it's implemented, and especially doing it fast, is like you said, just an art form that has to be mastered. And she's already with a ledge grab going to make Shig very, very iffy, likely dead.
Yeah, both players now in Dark World. Dark World's pretty fun stage. Let's see, there are 3 main cycles you can hit here, really. Shig, Zaya, and Tsukishima. So just it depends on how quickly you're able to move through the first half of the stage with which of those cycles you hit.
And a nice little backup there from Gainai, not taking the long jump off the rotating platform and instead just opting to take that slightly slower double jump wall kick. And yeah, so both players hitting what looked like Shig. Gainai may have ended up hitting normal cycle because he was using what's called the poverty movement, where you go for the cycle slightly differently, and you mainly do it if you feel like you're already too late to hit the cycle in its normal form. Because the movement afterwards is slightly weird and can like potentially lose you time. It's a kind of like complicated thing to analyze. There are situations where POV can actually save you a slight amount of time, but like Dude Guy said, the main thing is just hitting one of those main 3 cycles. Suki you rarely see in races or runs generally for that matter. D Whatever is pretty much the only player that runs 70 that reliably will go for Suki because it requires some very difficult opening movement in order to effectively make the cycle. She is a lot more manageable. You can make it with relatively easy opening movement, at least like for a pro player. And then Shig is the standard. You can make it with like average movement. Cheese with a very nice sky jump, very fast flying there. Gainai also heading into sky jump, but having a bit of an issue grabbing the cap.
Let's see, Gainai 1, 2, up to the island, it looks like. Yeah, he gets up there, gonna grab that star. Cheese getting out the door, and he is in to CCM.
And Gainai with that really, really nice rollout for the box break. Cheese goes into CCM now. Let's see if Cheese opts for the CCM 17 route.
Yeah, I was actually just about to bring up, just like how you said there are, or just like how we mentioned, there are 3 cycles in Dark World where there's more of the beginner and then slowly it ramps up to much harder cycles. There are also different routes coming out of CCM that we've seen people do. The notable ones are CCM 17, CCM 18, which of course refer to the number of stars you have coming out of this stage. So see which these runners choose to do, and then maybe go into a bit more detail on why they might have chosen those.
Yeah, so Gainai here is going to be committing to CCM 18. So in the 18 star route, you do slip slide in a way like this, where you just skip the slide and get the star at the end. And then you do the 100 coin with Penguin Race. Whereas we'll see what Cheese commits to here, because he does have to make his choice now. And he's going to be doing the 100 coin with slip sliding away. So you're not going to see him do the slide skip that Gainai just did. To compensate for this, since Cheese is going to be leaving CCM with 1 less star, he'll grab 1 more in Shifting Sandland, but that extra star involves having to do Pillarless twice instead of just once. So, we'll see how his consistency with plus is. Being a top tier player like Cheese, he's definitely got very, very solid with that trick, but we'll have to see if that heavy consistency has held up. In 120, notably, you only ever have to do plus 1 time. There's no double plus route for 120, so. And it'll be also interesting to see whether he goes for Tama plus or standard plus. Tama is much harder, but does save 2 seconds per attempt, so he will be able to capitalize really deeply on that, should he decide to do 2. But we'll see if he wants to opt for the more simple setup because of his extra consistency on that.
Yeah, like you mentioned, since Cheese did choose CCM 17, he does have to do 2 plus attempts or pillarless. If you don't know what pillarless or plus is, it is a very difficult trick that you'll see coming up, and then we'll kind of try to go into not much detail on how it actually works, because it's a pretty complicated trick with all the inner workings of it, but you'll see the results, and I think it'll kind of explain itself as to just how much time it ends up saving instead of having to do the stars the intended way.
Yeah. The biggest thing to keep in mind is that it's the first trick that you saw in this run, Bomb Clip, but just take it to another level. But we now have Cheese in BBH. Really nice side flip wall kick to start out the stage. This Gainai just has to grab this quick star.
That star always scares me because every time I always think that someone's going to get bopped by the penguin.
Right. And it's kind of funny because you never really have to actually like go super fast there. Like the penguin does take some time to walk over to his final position, so like you have a decent amount of time to wait for the penguin to come close to the finish line before you long jump. And as long as you haven't grabbed the star whenever he pushes you, you're probably going to be fine. Like it's very rare for you to be able to grab the star while already over the ledge. The main problem is just if you grab the star, then the penguin passes through. Cheese now done with BBH. Looks like he's very far ahead, but remember, deficit of 1 star.
You saw Cheese there jump between those balconies to grab that second star. It's a little maybe unintended way. Honestly, I'm not sure myself. Usually you're supposed to navigate yourself through the library, kick books in the right order. Instead, you can just hop right between those balconies and grab the star and bypass all that.
Yeah, it is a little finicky when you're trying to get the timing down because you have to do the kick as a buffered kick, meaning you're already holding A when you walk into the room, and then very quickly double jump. Otherwise, you don't have enough room to get over the fence. And I think like when you first approach that room, like especially as a kid, your first thought is, let me try long jumping across, and that never works. And for some reason, double jumping just never crosses your mind. So I wouldn't be surprised to hear that it was completely unintentional. But what was definitely unintentional is this trick that Cheese is just nailing right now. Pillarless. He's a little bit awkwardly angled. No star. Okay, he's good. Okay. He's good. He was so close to grabbing that star. I'm surprised he's not very deeply emoting right now, but he's probably just thinking really hard about like the rest of the star's execution. That was so close to grabbing the star.
Yeah, there's a lot that can go wrong with Pillarless. Grabbing that star on accident, the bomb blowing up if you don't get a good re-grab. And then there's also, if I remember correctly, it's there's a very small chance that as you cross into the top of the pyramid, you actually hit like a death plane and you'll just gain or die right there. So there's a lot going on that runners have to balance, and Cheese slipping under the pyramid.
Yeah, having a bit of an issue after having to let go of the bomb there. So to try to explain what's going on, first off, these players are throwing the bomb and trying to grab it as it explodes. So the game will always like grab an object like a bomb the same distance from Mario. Cheese with a very awkward angle, they're not able to get a re-grab. And so this is the foundation of how like the original bomb clip in BOB works, and also this trick here. The game puts the bomb a set distance away from Mario, but the bomb is bigger than it normally is, so its hitbox intersects with Mario's. And the game doesn't want 2 objects to be in the same point in 3D space, so it tries to push them apart by giving both speed. But the bomb can't move since Mario's holding it, but it can move Mario. So Mario does get a lot of negative speed from that. Now, this right here where Cheese throws the bomb and then dives back into it is a re-grab that puts Mario in what's called a hands-free state. Cheese ending up taking a death there from not double jumping. So hands-free means that the game does still give Mario speed from the bomb, but it no longer thinks that Mario's holding anything. So you're able to do things you can't normally do while holding an object, such as ground pound and double jump, and other things like that. And so, of course, right there, that double jump is very quick because your single jump has to be very, very short, and it almost immediately hits the sand hill again. So if your double jump tap is too slow, you'll just get another single jump and not get enough height to clear the pyramid. There's a lot of technicality with this trick, but both players are able to get it fairly quickly without a huge issue, except for on Cheese's side. Pretty major mess ups on a couple of attempts. But it was finally able to get the second plus pretty quickly.
Yeah, and this is kind of going back to what we said with choosing CCM17 and having to go for 2 pillarless attempts. It saves you time if you're able to pull them both off relatively smoothly. However, again, it's a very difficult trick. And so once you make that jump from doing just one of them to doing 2 of them, you know, it increases the chances of something going wrong by quite a bit.
Oh, and she's also messing up Reds to start LOL. Just can't really catch a break after the start of SSL.
Gainai going for Lava Boost doesn't get up there.
Yeah, a little bit too far to the right, so he actually hit the wall instead of the lava waterfall. Now Cheese with a beautiful red hot log rolling. An awesome triple jump dive to start out the star, roll out right over the gap, and then of course the speed kick triple jump off the arch.
Gainai grabbing Lava Boost as Cheese was flying over to the logs.
And nice to see that work. Second try for Gainai. Cheese now going for Bully Star. What a deep ledge grab skip. Wow.
That was pretty impressive. Gainai going to bully the little bullies.
And almost getting the triple kill, but not quite far enough distance-wise. I thought he was pretty shallow into the platform, but it turns out he actually was. But at least he got the hit on all three, so the last two were right where he wanted them to get the final kill.
Yeah, it's definitely good that those moved over to the edge instead of just kind of scattering.
So now we got Cheese, ledge grab, skip, triple bully. Does miss one of them, but still overall clean.
Yeah, pretty good lethal lava land here for the both of them. Gainai, of course, had that mistake with Lava Boost, and Cheese has had a couple of small movement mistakes there with the Reds, but overall, been pretty good out of both of them.
And she's managing to make up some time just off of both Gainai making a little bit of a mistake, but also just playing really well with some really hard, risky strats in LOL so far. Going for long jump lava boost, and it's good first try. Nicely done. And a pretty nice ending, too.
So one difference you probably saw between Gainai's red hot log rolling and Cheese's is Cheese managed to clip the top of the fence there. That saves just a bit of time because it takes you out of the flying animation and drops you right into the star. Gainai had to kind of navigate around that fence and grab the star while flying. So just a little call out on tech differences.
And the danger with doing that fence clip is like what the game actually puts as a hitbox for objects and what you see on the screen can be two very different things. And so like it can be easy to go for that ledge grab or go for that like fence clip and end up missing it, or on the worst end, go for it too far down and end up like hitting the fence on the wrong side and bonking and falling down. So like there is a little bit of danger to that if you aren't well practiced in it and if you don't have a good eye for where exactly the game interprets as the top of the fence. I think in the case of that specific fence, the hitbox is pretty well aligned, but that is one that you have to put a lot of time into for a relatively little benefit overall. But now we're moving on into chess, and the players are near synced up. Very impressive. And in previous races, we've said a lot that you can gain or lose a lot of time just kind of randomly to the start, it feels like, but no better was that showcase than like really here, where Cheese has gained some pretty decent little time considering like where he started this star during.
Yeah, swimming is like flying in Super Mario 64 in that it's deceptively tough to stay in just the right rhythm to maximize your speed, and in this star to turn in just the right way to also maximize your speed between chests. It's most of the movement in Super Mario 64 is very deceptive with how tough it can be at the top level.
Yeah, there are a ton of rules you have to learn for every individual situation, like how exactly Mario will behave when jumping off of a slope versus off of flat ground. And Cheese, very, very nice front sub as Gainai just goes ahead and goes for rear. So Cheese forging himself a nice little lead in DDD due to strat differences and better swimming. And of course, swimming also has the added difficulty of you have to rhythmically press A the entire time. And in a stage like DDD, that rhythm can get thrown off by lag. It's not even just a matter of like hitting A so that Mario makes the faster swimming noise, but you're wanting to hit A as quickly as possible in each of those windows so that you're able to get Mario to do the next swim as quickly as possible and build up more speed.
Both runners grabbing the rings there. Like was mentioned earlier with misaligned hitboxes on some objects, those rings hitboxes are nowhere close to how they're rendered on screen.
And it's
They are
really
just
strange,
all
but
over the place.
yeah, it's really weird how the first like 5 or 6 are pretty close. And then after that, like they turn sideways. Like it's some weird bug with how the game actually detects the hitboxes where like a lot of them, the ring itself that the game is thinking of is sideways. It's so strange.
Yeah, once you miss just one of them, then they start being can be all over the place. So it's very important to get them correctly the first try. Otherwise, it then becomes much harder to get that star.
And another thing that's important to get first try that both players have now landed is Lava Boost and Fire Sea. So both players eligible for a good ending here. Cheese bonking on the wall, though, gonna have to take kind of an awkward roundabout movement. Nice, like, secondary kick there. He got really lucky with that actually working.
Seeing that emote from Cheese there. Fire Sea is a very movement-focused stage. It is very tough to hit all the movement in just the right way in order to move through the stage as quickly as possible. It's one of my favorite stages for the movement because done well, it looks awesome in my opinion. But when things go wrong there, they can go wrong big. Cheese winding up, hitting the bomb. Gainai looked like he almost missed it, but managed to just clip it. So both these guys going to be grabbing the second key.
Cheese does have a lead, but it is very, very slight. This will be very, very interesting to see play out in upstairs. Cheese with a bit of a weird movement issue there, but managing to finally make his way back into the Fire Sea entrance for the course exit. So now let's see how upstairs goes. I believe Cheese has somewhat recently started like doing wet drywall kind of in reverse order where he does like the single stars first, then 100 coin later. But we'll see if that happens here as well. Yeah, so kind of a reversal of star order. Cheese with the nice double jump kick there.
Oh, didn't get up there.
I think that he just let go of A too early. I think that was all that happened there, unfortunately. And so he can't do the double jump kick there, so having to do the normal triple as a backup.
Gainai, meanwhile, working his way through 100 coin as Cheese grabs that star. Looks all right so far. Getting shocked there, though. That's going to be tough. Slows him down.
All right, Cheese. Nice second triple there. This Gainai finishes on up with 100 coin. Overall, pretty solid, just like you said, that amp shock. But not too much more besides that. Now Cheese starting with his own 100 coin.
Double box breaks starting off there. I'm pretty sure you can get both of those sets of boxes with that double break in. I don't even remember if it saves much time, you know, if any at all, but it definitely looks cool.
I've heard somewhere that the second, like the first one will always save time, but I've heard that the second one will only save time if you get a good RNG on both of the sprays. She's having a bit of an issue with the secret there. Just like didn't hear the audio cue, and so just having to repeatedly tap that box until finally it went off. You could see on the face cam his eyes went super wide when he realized that it hadn't triggered.
Bit of an incredulous look there coming from Cheese.
She's having some awful luck with these coin sprays. Nice rollout there. I didn't even know that a rollout would actually take you over the edge like that.
Yeah, luckily, Cheese could mop up with 100 coins there at the end with that line on top of that platform. So just going to be able to jump across and grab the stars sitting on the pier. If you miss too many coins, then you have to go and grab other coins instead of just being able to jump across like that. So it's good Cheese managed to get 100 by the end of it.
Yep.
Gainai to the top of the town.
It's Cheese with the hardest star in the game, and you can see why it's so hard bonking on that wall. All he had to do was hold neutral, but very hard to do sometimes. But he does get the ground pound on the star with the box with the star, because that's the order that words work. Commentator forgetting how English functions.
Gainai going into TTI. This is also, or a TTI, THI. My bad. This
I would
is also
love to
one
see.
of those.
I'd love to see a TTM THI hybrid because it could only serve to make THI better. Very, very nice secrets from Cheese. Oh, and as soon as I say that, missing the fourth one. And the clip not working to the top of the mountain, but luckily the side flip will.
Cheese making it across. It's jumping across there. If you don't get just the right jump, then you can either miss the island or you can grab the ledge, and that's not a problem unless you grab the ledge on the right side. But there's actually a teleport there that will teleport you across the stage, and it's just very annoying. Gainai bonking there on the way up, losing him some time, but he managed to get up there.
Yeah, he was so insistent on skipping the 1 second time loss from getting a ledge grab that he decided to lose 8 or so seconds, like just with movement trying to get back up.
So far, both runners, THI, been all right. Cheese had that problem with the secrets, Gainai bonking on the way up the mountain, but overall, pretty decent. Gainai going to eradicate the piranha plants, driving them to near extinction. Sad to see.
See, TGC, I feel like I used to think that, like, exactly like that both the stages were the same, and I would get them confused all the time, but like whenever I started actually learning the speedrun for this game, I think is when my mind finally sorted them all out completely, and I realized just how much I hated THI. It's just not a very fun stage. It's a cool concept, but it's just on one of the islands, everything is just really hyper compressed and you just bonk everywhere, and on the other island, everything is too spread out and you can just randomly die for no good reason. So I'm not a big fan, even though you do get to exterminate an entire race of piranha plant. Like I'm not a fan. Gainai, though, is a fan of this log wall kick for working for him, as he's going to move on up for the behind the waterfall star here. 2 wall kicks due to that firstie, but did still manage to pick up the star just fine.
That chuck it kind of standing there ominously with Cheese. If you're not careful, that thing can grab you and it can throw you off the side. It's rare. I think I've only seen it a couple times, but it can happen.
And so now we got some sync on the mountain clips this time around. She's getting out of the lake a little bit more early. I'm going to go for 2 wall kicks on this waterfall star as Gainai heads to the top of the mountain. All right, now red's going to be coming up soon. This one is just a brutal star. This feels like a tippy level star, honestly. So let's see what strats Gainai decides to go for.
TTM Reds is another one of those stars that, when done well, it looks incredibly smooth, but the amount of skill that goes into pulling off a really good TTM Reds is quite frankly insane. Everything from being able to roll, like, I think the fastest movement tech off the mushrooms is you roll off the mushrooms. You know, like there are just a bunch of small optimizations that you can stack on top of it and to make it much harder. And as you saw there, when you're navigating around all those little outcroppings, you can bonk off one of them. There's a lot that needs to be done to make it look very smooth.
She's definitely doing it. Taking a little lag in the maze, but that's really all. That was excellent execution on that star. Like, he got the jump kick at the very start, getting onto the first mushroom with a rollout, and then, of course, doing the quick dive rollout for 2, 3, and 4, and then another quick dive rollout that you normally see a long jump for most players in order to get them onto the mainland again, and then that beautiful triple jump wall kick in order to get up to the 7th red, and then the just ridiculous side flip wall kick to finish off. Like, Cheese's reds were just on another level of execution. Even if Gainai had done everything he was going for perfectly, Cheese still would have saved like 2 seconds just from like sheer strat optimization. It was definitely excellent execution. Gainai with a somewhat close breeze star, but does make it work just fine.
Yeah, I was scared Gainai wouldn't get into that alcove there at first, but he managed to just slip into it. Cheese into Snowman's Land.
And let's see, Snowman's big head with the big boy strat, and it works out just fine. Beautiful dive just to finish it out.
I'm waiting for someone to bring out the penguin head strats in a race just to do it.
D-Wood has like a couple times, and he did it in one race earlier this season actually, and had to take 2 attempts at it. It's always like so clutch to see him pull that strat out. Cheese with a beautiful whirl from the freezing pond. Like, that ground pound was so close to the ground that was just perfect. And Gainai as well, awesome.
Yeah, both runners having really good whirl across the freezing ponds there. Both of them getting through that text box and back into Snowman's Land.
So no craziness on into the deep freeze, no double jump kick action. And a quick little chill with the bullies here. All right, so now both players going to be headed down to Hazy Maze Cave. Kind of a bit of a reprieve from the difficulties of upstairs. I mean, really the only truly hard strat is box jump, but you can do a lot to make things a little hard.
Yeah, most of the stars these runners will be collecting in Hazy Maze Cave, they're more just fundamental movement-based stars, really at the heart of it. You'll see one with a triple jump wall kick up to a platform that you're normally supposed to do some climbing antics to get to. You'll see Christmas Miracle, which is one of my favorite stars. Definitely, like you said, triple box jump is the hardest, and that's because there's so much small movement that goes into getting from one side of the stage to the other via that box.
Yeah, and it's amazing what's possible in this stage just due to the removed ceilings. And like you said, all of these things rely on fundamental movement. Beautiful triple box from Cheese. Done it so many times, you never really expect any issues. Gainai, however, side flipping in the wrong spot, but managing to back it up really nicely with a just standard kick start to his triple.
Yeah, that trick is not as easy as these guys made it look. Actually, positioning yourself at the right angle to be able to triple jump off that box and then dive across into the other room and hit the star is actually it's a pretty tough thing to learn. It takes time definitely to pick it up. Gainai going up right side to grab that star on the other side of the room from where they did triple box jump.
And the way that Gainai ended up doing it there, he did lose a little bit of time compared to the left side strat. Just because he took a ledge grab there. The strat that he did is faster by like a couple tenths of a second, I think, but only if you do it perfectly. Even getting a ledge grab, like see the way G's did it, he is saving time over the left side strat. You see a lot of players go for, but Gainai just a little bit of time lost there.
Christmas miracle coming out from Gainai, and it was delivered.
All right, now one more quick start from Cheese. Let's see if he's also going to get this Christmas miracle. And it's good. Beautiful. All right, so Chi's going to be heading on up to Tippy. Gainai just behind him on the trip up to Tippy. This is a close race. Now, granted, of course, the timers are desynced by about 6 seconds or so, but this is still, like, incredibly close despite that. So now Cheese is entering, and let's see how Lakitu bounce goes. Oh, Gainai taking a bit of a bonk. That's time loss that he really doesn't want right now.
Yeah, going into Tippy, we usually see these races tighten up and usually a lead change. So once you get up here, any time loss, this is really the climax of the run where once you start making mistakes here, these are the kind of mistakes that can cost you the race. Whereas before it was like, yeah, you know, missing Lakitu skip or missing something even halfway through the run. That's not a run or a race ending mistake, but now one big mistake can in fact end a race.
Yeah. So getting a quick resync for you guys. Gainai's screen isn't exactly frozen, but as you can see, we're now back on track and with a better representation of how the players are actually comparing. Cheese with left side tricky triangles here. Very nicely executed. Beautiful. As Gainai does have reds, the longest star that we're getting in this stage. So let's see how this attempted Lakitu bounce goes. The run starts with the Lakitu, and many runs end up, unfortunately, ending with 1-2. Oh, just the Lakitu not quite approaching quickly enough. I think Gainai may be, like, jumping a little too shallow or just something weird so that the Lakitu didn't have enough time to catch up to him. But a nice backup with tricky triangles. And a very nice backup there during the star.
Yeah,
Gainai is losing some time, but he could be losing a lot more without the quality of these backups. And a funny little note that I think Cheese probably just isn't aware of here because it's so minor. At the end of reds there, after you grab the 8th red, you'll be really tempted when you walk off the platform to dive into the star. But if you dive, Mario touches the star higher, so it actually loses like 2 frames on like the total fall animation into the star grab animation. So you should actually just walk off the platform without diving at all, and you'll like touch the star lower. It's a weird like element of how the game animations work.
Yeah, kind of in that same note, if you're not familiar with Super Mario 64 speedrunning techniques, for most of the stars these runners have been grabbing, you've seen them ground pound as they've done so. The reason for that is because it makes you reach the ground faster after grabbing the star. it's a very small time save, but that stacks up when you're collecting 70 stars or 120 stars a run.
And in addition to that, when you ground pound, Mario's hitbox is a little taller than it was before the ground pound starts. So you'll grab a star that's a little higher than Mario's like max height with a jump, let's say. And you'll always descend immediately if you grab it with that ground pounding hitbox. If you grab the star with a jump, like if you're still ascending on the jump, Mario will still have upward momentum during the final animation, which loses even more time than just grabbing it super high. So the ground pound also ensures that you'll always go straight down after hitting the star. So that's another reason it's so valuable. It's just like the best way to grab a star. And it's kind of weird because every star in this game pretty much is at a different height. There are a couple that are at the same height, but overall it's a different height for all of the 120 stars. So you have to like learn a ground pound timing for effectively every star. Like one in particular that's annoying is Christmas Miracle. That star is really high off the ground. So you have to delay Z a lot compared to like some of the LLL stars that are just on the ground ready for you to grab with a rollout or something. But both of these guys with awesome 100 coins. She's just getting started, but Gainai finishing pretty nicely with his.
Yeah, there was some tough RNG there for Gainai. Whenever he broke that box, the coins just went everywhere, but luckily he had just enough coins and was able to grab just enough that he could finish off his 100 in the correct place there.
Yeah. So Cheese having to spend one of his safety coins here.
Nice box break RNG there for Cheese.
All right, so Gainai with nice pit and pendulums, Cheese finishing off a beautiful 100 coin. Yeah, so like in the case of the Rainbow Ride thing, it's really low risk because every time you walk off the platform, you'll have enough speed to reach the star and like be able to grab it lower like that. But like some of the more risky, just few frame things you see just about no runners go for. And those tend to be referred to as just single star strats where you can't do them reliably and they don't save enough time to really be worth it. So like for instance, Get a Hand has a single star strat where you do what's called a glitchy wall kick, which it's a complicated thing to explain, but the short of it is you wall kick at a very particular part of the wall and it goes in a weird direction that you wouldn't expect. And that type of wall kick is so precise that you don't see anyone really go for it in a full RTA run, but that is the single star world record. But it's just like a second, if even that, faster than like the record with the strat Gainai just used. And now Gainai going in on time stop for probably, yeah, time jumps on moving bars here. Yeah, if you want to see a whole other side of how incredible this game can go, like single star records are just on another level. There's a bunch of JRB single star records with BLJs that are just like, you watch them and you're like, huh, okay, I didn't even think you could do that, but whatever.
Yeah, definitely don't think that an RTA speedrun, which is where, you know, a person plays from beginning of the game to the end of the game in real time. You know, for in this case, 70 star. Don't think that's the end of or the tip of the ice. What's the analogy I'm looking for? Don't think that's all there is to Super Mario 64 speedrunning. There's single star, there's 16 star. There are a bunch of different categories and different things that show off different tricks, different techniques that a person just can't do when trying to collect 70 stars over the course of, you know, 50-ish minutes.
Yeah, and on that note, even like meme categories, as they're called, like they also have value in their movement. Like All Signs, which has a bounty for it right now, there's movement in that category you don't see in any major category. And it's really valuable to learn that sort of stuff because like learning new movement always will improve your existing movement. You're able to see things through a different lens. Like, hey, if I can do this thing during this strat, why don't I try doing that same like concept during another strat that I've had trouble with before? Oh, Gainai taking a big bonk there on triple jump dive.
Yeah, that's tough to see. That's, I mean, Cheese was already ahead, but that pretty much seals this out completely.
Cheese missing his first throw though. Gainai not liking that angle at all, just gonna take the roundabout method here. Nice rest of the fight from Cheese, though, after that first missed throw. Finishing out with a mid 49. Nice.
Looks like Gainai is going to mop up the rest of Bowser in the sky here.
Beautiful movement. GG's to both players, and especially like GG's to Gainai for keeping up with Cheese for so long. And this is still a really solid closer, just not quite enough to finish it all out. But Gainai should definitely still be proud of this performance.
Yeah, definitely.
A little too far right for that to be a perfect fight, but still pretty close.
Cheese is, of course, the current 120-star world record holder. Actually just got that verified world record about, what was it, 2 weeks ago now at Break the Record, which was a really cool thing to see live.
Yeah. Like, it's so surreal still. Like, it doesn't even feel like something that actually happened. Like, it's just out of this world that someone could achieve something like that live. But GG's to both of the racers here. Gainai with a 50-30, Cheese with a 49-25. Awesome stuff from both sides here. And, like, again, shout outs to Gainai for keeping it so close for so long. That is super impressive. Don't go anywhere, folks, though, because we've still got one more race left for you tonight. That's going to be D Whatever, the 70-star world record holder, versus Proto Man. So that'll be a pretty interesting race to see. And I will be co-comming that again with Doom Guy Fieri. And man, it's been a pleasure to co-com this race with you, and I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, same to you. Hope everyone will stick around.
Yep. We'll be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere just yet.
They are synced out. Do whatever in the lead again.
Wow. Side for sure from Cheese. Okay, doing it moving. Oh no, the Cheese falls! Cheese